These two iPhones are almost a decade apart. No one's even choosing between the iPhone 7 and the 17. That'd be silly. One of these launched when TikTok wasn't even a thing and Instagram was actually a nice place to post your actual photos and not some AI slot. Like, what is this? And Apple has just removed the headphone jack and it's been 10 years and we still don't have the headphone jack. I think it's time to give up. It ain't coming back. Whereas the other one is so mature, so polished, and so good at everything, which is making me wonder, how much better is it really? What did Apple do in the last 10 years for this to feel so complete? And there's no better way to start than by touching these two phones with my greasy hands. But before I do, I'm Snowball and this is the Backmarket channel. So unless I've gone blind, I'm pretty sure the design has changed just a little bit. So let's see, a white one that's 6.3 inches or a black one that's 4.7 inches, and strictly in this context, I'm gonna go for the black one. Throughout the years, iPhones just got bigger and bigger, and I don't necessarily like that change. This iPhone 7 is 138 grams, the iPhone 17 is 177, and just for context, the 17 Pro is 206 grams, and I'm not even talking about the Pro Maxes. Thing is, it doesn't sound like a big deal, and I hear so many people that are like, oh, you can't lift the phone, just go to the gym. Bruh, when was the last time you actually felt the iPhone 7? Do you remember how light this phone is? When I put this in my pocket, it immediately feels like I've just lost my phone. When I hold a phone in my hand, it feels like I'm just holding the case and the actual phone is missing. The regular 17 is fine, but it's the Pro and the Pro Maxes that are starting to feel crazy. And the screen on this thing is so tiny that I don't even want to use it, and I mean that in a good way. I check my messages, no one ever texts me, I call my grandma, and then I calmly put the phone away. This phone is not designed to suck me in so I scroll for hours. It's not like I even have the battery to do that anyway. But then wait a second, how does Instagram even work on this thing? I thought this thing was supposed to be old. Anyway, looking at the 17 actually made me appreciate it even more because look how thin the bezels are. If you remember back in the day, the iPhone XR, it had such a chunky body with thick bezels and a big notch, 60Hz, IPS screen, bruh. And now this looks so clean, especially the white model with the clear white icons and 120Hz, like, this is gorgeous. If they can just remove this dynamic island altogether, that would be great, thanks. If you think about it, back then, the iPhone 7 was the best phone that you could get. There was no Pro, there was no Pro Max, Ultra, XL, whatever. It was either the regular 7 or the 7 Plus, which just had a bigger screen. You could spend like $600 and get the best iPhone that everyone has, but now, things are a little bit different. The iPhone 17, the base model, on paper is basically perfect. They made it so appealing that the Pro model iPhones are like, not really that necessary anymore. However, the fact that it's just there, sitting, staring at you with these three cameras makes it so tempting. I see so many people walking around with like Pro and Pro Max iPhones. Like, do they even know what they're buying? Do they even know what they've spent the extra $300 on? I feel like people spend the extra money to mentally check off a box and be like, yep, I've just bought the best iPhone. Because otherwise it feels like you're missing out even though you're not really. But obviously the one thing that people want to see the most is the performance jump. Like, how much faster can a phone get after almost 10 years? If you take a look, the single core has gone up by 4 times and the multi-core has gone up by 6 times. That's quite impressive considering how powerful the iPhone 7 already was. But at the same time, for some reason I was expecting like, I don't know, 10 times the improvement? But yeah, I was originally gonna show you how much better Instagram is on the newer phone, but clearly you do not need all this power for scrolling. The iPhone 7 is actually still good enough. So of course, Apple wouldn't really sell any iPhones if all these performance jumps didn't really translate to anything. But the thing is, they kinda do. Although you won't see a revolutionary jump on Instagram, it's really impressive to see that iPhones are now capable of running full-on console games like Assassin's Creed or Resident Evil, and not some cut-down clown versions. This might not be a selling point for you, but Apple has to advertise these somehow, because how else do you convince millions of people to buy this? Just about the most demanding game that I could find on the iPhone 7 was COD Mobile, and I thought, surely there's no way I could run this game on such an old iPhone. And you know what? I even put the game graphics to high and this thing ran smoothly. Although this shouldn't be too surprising because the A10 in this iPhone is just as powerful, if not more, than the G99 chip, which happens to be in the Galaxy A07, which happens to be the most or best selling phone of 2026. What a coincidence. It's almost like we have to optimize for this tech. So then by that logic, shouldn't this iPhone still be supported with software updates? Like, what's going on? And the new iPhone is so powerful that it's capable of running Assassin's Creed Mirage. And as impressive as that is, for me, it consistently stuttered, the phone got really hot, and at one point the game just crapped itself. The NPC wasn't even loading, so yeah, this thing looks good in demos, but in practice, I think you should just get a console. If there's one place where this decade gap should be obvious, it's the camera. Look how tiny this thing is. It's the size of my The sensor size on the main camera has improved by almost 4 times. But something else has changed along the way, because now the iPhones rely more and more on the software processing. Like if you look at these two photos, the new iPhone has better dynamic range, brighter shadows, the colors pop more, but somehow it just looks less realistic. I do look more appealing in this selfie, but at the same time, where did all the shadows go? And my skin is not that orange. Or just look how much sharper the tree is on the 17, but this is digital sharpening. Although it looks better, somehow the vibe is kind of ruined now. Marquez even made a video about this, saying how the phone cameras are more and more reliable now, and it's getting harder to mess up a shot because everything is just done automatically. But at the same time, the processing is doing a little bit too much. Like sometimes the shots look so overprocessed that the older phones actually start looking better, and I think I prefer that as well. Now, let's sniff some nostalgia for a minute, because doesn't this remind you of something? Maybe it's your childhood, maybe it's your divorce, but whatever it is, it just looks so nostalgic. Do you remember when you had to swipe up for the control center? Yeah. Crazy. And now when you swipe down, everything is so stretchy and weird. I can't lie, the clear icons look crazy with this white iPhone aesthetic. Look at these cool ass animations and look how cool this glass effect is. However, this kind of worries me because how much power do I need to run all of these animations? I kind of feel like Apple looked at the older iPhones and they were like, crap, these phones are way too powerful, we need to slow them down. So I kind of feel like they did all of these crazy animations just to take up more processing power, so these phones slowed down for once and people actually had a reason to upgrade. It's a crazy conspiracy theory, but if you think about it, apart from the animations, what's stopping the iPhone 7 from running iOS 26? Crazy, right? I'm just saying. I'm still surprised how much this little thing can do. Obviously, phones have improved a little bit since then. What a shocker. The obvious good things that have changed are the better screens and bigger batteries. Basically every conceivable metric is better. But at the same time, I feel like we lost something special along the way. Character. Although the cameras have gotten objectively better, they've also kind of become too perfect in a way, and they're not as realistic anymore. I don't always want to look like a lightly salted chip in my photos. It actually feels nostalgic looking at the footage from the iPhone 7 just because of how imperfect it looks, but in a good way. I think Apple should bring this back. Not the iPhone 7, but the design, the concept. Think about this. Imagine this phone in the modern age with the silicon carbon batteries, the modern chip, and a massive camera, and obviously a good price. And I'm looking at you, iPhone 17e, you could have been better. But of course, they just had to get rid of the iPhone SE lineup for no reason. Maybe you don't have to go back to the iPhone 7, but if you do want a new phone, I'm gonna leave some links down below. And thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.